I like to say to you all, welcome to the fifth lecture of the Digital Academy of the Forum Young Theology in Europe. We are discussing during 7 lectures, as you know, the subject Protestantism and participation. 3 institutions organized this academy: Evangelischer Bund, Protestant League, works in close cooperation with the Protestant churches in Germany. It promotes theological education and the knowledge of the different Christian denominations, as well as ecumenical understanding. In collaboration with the Communion of Protestant Churches in Europe, CPCE, and the Center of Protestant Theology in Eastern Europe, Centrum Evangelische Theologie Ost in Romania, Sibiu, it organizes this conference for young theologians dealing with this subject, this topic of Protestantism and participation in this second part of the Forum Young Theology. We are very grateful and we thank a lot that the Digital Academy and the Ecumenical Conference are funded by the program Erasmus Plus of the European Union. Thank you a lot. Now I will moderate this lecture. My name is Gerhard Servatius-Deppner, and like you can read, I'm from ZETO. I'm the director of this Centrum Evangelische Theologie Ost, Protestant Theology in Eastern Europe, Center of Protestant Theology in Eastern Europe in Sibiu, Hermannstadt in Romania. It would be nice if you turn off your microphone when you are not speaking. And if possible, please turn your camera on. Thank you a lot. Let me remind you very short about the topic of the last lectures. We began on 3rd of November last year with the topic priesthood of all believers. Then 2 weeks later was church and diaspora. 1st of December was the topic participation within the church, who comes in, who brings in what. 2 weeks later, 15th of December, we had lectures about shelter and advocate, church and minorities. And now we will discuss about church and environmental protection. I know that our referent in this evening would like to give another accent to this topic, but I will let she to explain how. We will hear and discuss about challenges. We have a lot of challenges in this period, in last year, maybe this year also. Be it pandemic, be it the war, be it turning point in the church, a lot of changes, few people, and so on. Climate crisis is one of the great challenges that concerns us all. Here too, as in all current crises, we experience that man is not decoupled from his environment. Human protection is not possible without protection of the creation. One speaks also in the church less and less of the environment and more of the world. Is there a turning point in theological thinking? Ask our referent. With questions of creation theology, are we developing a different understanding of man in relation to the environment, world around us? I'm very honored and glad and happy to welcome today, this evening, Dr. Elfriede Dörr from Sibiu, Hermannstadt, the city where I'm right now. It is a city in Romania. Dr. Elfriede Dörr is a Lutheran minister, ecumenist, author. She is very interested in ecotheological issues and takes them up in all areas of her work, especially in the further training of pastors in the Evangelical Church in Romania, as well as in the ecumenical exchange of church relations. She thinks that caring for creation should be a cross-cutting topic in church work, in liturgy, theology, and diakonia. Now I speak enough. Miss Dörr, the floor is yours.
Still Mrs., not Mr. Greetings, friends, in this digital academy for young theologians in Europe. Greetings from the head office of the Evangelical Church of Augsburg Confession in Romania, where I serve in the field of ongoing formation of the ministers on the one hand and ecumenism on the other hand. You know it already, my name is Elfriede Dörr. My ecumenical formation goes back first to a decade of work in the governing bodies of the Conference of European Churches. Secondly, to ecumenical scientific work studies, which I had the privilege to undertake in the Institute for Ecumenical Research in Strasbourg, which is a Lutheran institution. And thirdly, to my doctoral thesis on the Women's World Day of Prayer. Thank you very much for your invitation. I will follow this invitation to speak to you about churches and environmental protection by sharing with you some insights into churches' care for creation. And if I'm speaking too fast or too much, please raise your hand and tell me what would be better for you. So I'm going to share some insights into churches' care for creation, and I shall do that in two parts. That was that I was asked to do it. In the first part, I will start with the heavy part. So I will map for you the current theological discussion by presenting some ecotheological points. And then in the same first part, I present to you how I became involved in churches' care for creation, which explains a bit about my worldview related to ecotheology and about my relationship to the church's care for creation practices. In the second part, after the breakout rooms, I present to you Protestant engagement from an international and ecumenical perspective. I'll come up with an overview on ecumenical bodies in which Protestant churches are actively, which implies also the care for creation. I would like this to be a good frame for our discussions. Sometimes there is something happening on the screen, which is absorbing my attention.
We all can see you now very good.
That's
now
okay.
Very good.
So coming to the breakout rooms, And also the plenary afterwards, we are going to explore a bit together how this could be of meaning for us as people of faith, as community leaders in their care for creation. So let me start with part 1, ecotheological emphasis in the current discussion. I start with some viewpoints. It seems important to me that there is a theological map at the beginning, before we move on to the practical questions that open up the wide space of participation. I would like to name 6 entry points to the current theological discussion. Stewardship, metanoia, Christological approach, Trinitarian approach, ecofeminism, ecodiakonia. First, stewardship. A well-known model of care for creation is stewardship, used by many church statements. Nevertheless, it is a concept which is increasingly felt as problematic because it does not sufficiently question the domination model of human vocation. Second, metanoia. The call for stewardship is increasingly replaced by the call for ecological metanoia, towards a more biocentric understanding of our human purpose as narrated in Genesis. In ecumenical circles, we often hear this a holistic approach referred to in terms of koinonia, or to make it more complicated, oikos theology, which includes economic critiques of greed and growth. Third, Christological approach. Many theologians from the academic Western tradition prefer a Christological approach that better incorporates suffering, the reality of sin, and the cosmic redemption of all creation. 4, Trinitarian approach. Recent ecumenical efforts, such as Kairos for Creation Statement 2019, calls for mainstreaming Trinitarian ecological reflection on liturgical practices and church traditions. 5th, ecofeminism. Ecofeminist analysis states that there is a strong connection between the domination of women and the domination of nature, and that both must be eradicated in order to end oppression. Vegetarian ecofeminism is part of the larger field of ecofeminism, which states that all types of oppression are linked and must be eradicated, with a focus on the domination of humans over non-humans animals. 6th, ecodiakonia. A recent publication in the area of ecodiakonia extends the ecclesiological notion of diakonia into the ethics of creation care. So, dear friends, to sum up, stewardship, metanoia, Christological, Trinitarian approach, ecofeminism, ecodiakonia. This list helps to get a picture of the current ecotheological thinking. These approaches help to pose new questions of theology, anthropology, ethics, or other theological loci such as soteriology. I leave that to your further reflection later on. Unfortunately, it is not possible to develop these topics here, nor does it have to. What seems important to me for now is to map ecotheological reflection just to help us to see ourselves in the bigger picture of Protestantism and participation. Still, first part, care for creation, an issue for people of faith. Let me tell you how I have come to the conclusion that caring for creation should be a cross-cutting topic in church work. That means in liturgy, theology, diakonia. And how I started to get active in a field where the problems are so overwhelmingly big that one actually feels powerless. The preparation of the Third European Ecumenical Assembly was coming up. The Conference of European Churches, CEC, and the Council of European Episcopal Conferences, CPCE, had planned it. I was excited that this historic ecumenical meeting was to take place in Sibiu. I took part in the preparation, of course. I went by plane to many preparatory meetings. I knew that this is a problem, and I wanted to know what was the impact of my lifestyle on the environment. I searched the internet for a site where I calculated my ecological footprint. When I got a result, I was deeply shocked. With my way of life, it would take 2.5 planets, it said. I was very restless and began to look for what I could do to decrease my ecological footprint as a simple individual. I learned by reading and writing what I could do differently in my everyday life to change my lifestyle. The result is a small brochure for the parish in Sibiu, published in 2009. Then I went to include ecotheological topics in the pastor's training, which was not so easy. There was a lot of resistance, which still amazes me because the crisis we are in concerns all of us, and it takes all of us to make a difference. Despite these problems I had with working on these themes, it was colleagues who asked me to write an environmental primer, Umweltfibel, for church members. This came out in 2019. Then the pandemic started. My daughter, who was active in Fridays for Future, sat at home, so did I, so did we all. As a result of a lockdown, again, a book. Yes, we care. A toolkit for young people in Romania was printed in 2020. New in this book is the introduction to the chapters and the respective topics with a fictitious dialogue among youngsters. We thought, this is the problem of the ecological questions, we don't have a narrative. So we tried to do it with these fictitious dialogues. The book takes up, probably you have read many such books, but let me stick to this one. It takes up themes such as water, energy, food, money, civil, courage, Christmas. I learned a lot and started to implement what we had written in many areas after the publication. So first I wrote, I learned, and then I implemented. We had many conversations in our family about these topics, as well as with the people from the publishing house, with the mayor, with pupils, with community leaders, and of course with young people. Why am I telling this? Because what I wanted to say is, it is worth starting. It almost doesn't matter where you start and how. It brings you out of the sphere of hopelessness. You take small steps that change you and enable you to take further steps. You connect with other people in your community. You make a difference. Now I'm going to present what you are supposed to do in the breakout rooms. Is that okay, dear moderator?
Very okay.
Okay. For the coming breakout rooms, I translated 3 chapters from the book Yes, We Care into English. I have chosen these in such a way that the focus is on the relationship to other people or humans. Secondly, relationship to the plants, and thirdly, to the animals. One is the chapter called Sunday. Many people were surprised that the chapter on Sunday was included in a book about environmental protection tips, because we think, Paula and I, meditation is not only a spiritual practice, but is also an impact on the environment. We have included one meditation in the Sunday chapter. I am assuming that you, as young people involved in church activities, might be interested in how care for creation and Sunday are connected. The other chapter concerns Easter. Easter is ahead of us, so Easter. Here we have developed the question of animal rights, following the subject of eggs for Easter. This was new territory for me, animal rights. But less for my daughter and probably for you too. I've been vegetarian ever since. Then, as a third text, I'll give you the chapter Park, Garden, Balcony. This chapter was the starting point for gardening myself, to being eager to know all my house plants by name and treat them according to their needs, to cultivate biodiversity on the balcony in the middle of the city. Another perhaps unintended consequence was an overwhelming sense of the interconnectedness of all things. Which brings us again, dear friends, in the church, where we used to nurture the relationship with God, who is the source of all things. I prepared some questions for you. So Gerhard will help me to distribute these 3 chapters. Maybe you help me in a second how we deal with the groups, which group takes up which text. The text on Sunday is the shortest. So if you are through, then you may write a meditation for the Sunday sermon.
I will put these documents in chat now. Moment.
Until you do that, I'll tell you the 3 questions. Would you please share your opinion and discuss with your fellows about the topic, Sunday or Easter or Park, Garden, Balcony? Second question, where do you see a possible area of interest for you? Third question, what do you think you could contribute to engage your community or your congregation in participating in the care for creation?
Are the questions in the PDF document as well, or can we have them in the chat also?
No.
They are not in the chat, but we can take a document, I understand.
I can repeat the questions, but please feel free also to follow the discussion you have. So perhaps you have a burning question, it should get the place it deserves. So again, would you please share your opinion and discuss with your fellows in the working group about the topic, which one you have with you, Sunday, Easter or park, garden, balcony. Second question, where do you see a possible area of interest for you? Third, what do you think you could contribute to engage your community or your congregation in participating in the care for creation?
Then we go to the groups. We will have just 20 minutes to pick up and discuss. 20 minutes. Welcome back. I can say that in the room where I was, it was very meditative, and it was a good discussion. I think there were 4 rooms, 4 groups, and I would like to invite you to speak about your discussion. Room 1. Who was in room 1? Someone of you? Which document you discussed? Sunday, Eastern, or balcony?
We understood we should take the first document, the first group, so we had the document on Sunday.
Wow.
Is that right? I hope we...
It's okay.
Yeah. Yes, we were inspired in it. We were not meditating, we were lively discussing, and had everyone of us had experiences with such thoughts, especially when you move to another town or another country, you forget about your way to live the Sunday, and then it's sometimes hard to be aware of it. But we found it all interesting, and I think the main point we discussed about, or we were thinking about, was the fact that environment includes the persons, the human beings around us. So it is already a care for creation when you care for the persons around you and take this Sunday as an opportunity to be aware, especially of some things you don't manage during the week. So cultivating friendships, and we had some ideas how you could do that in your community if it does not exist already. We had good examples where people meet after the service, or meet after later in the day and go for in the nature together. But also maybe you could visit people who don't have anybody. Yeah, I would stop here. Maybe some others of our group want to.
No, nobody.
Who has been in your group, Maximilian?
Benedict, Inse-Marie, and Selina.
One question was, what is like Christian in just enjoying nature and so on? And well, I would say there are 2 points. If you take nature not just as material, but as creation, this is a Christian perspective, and we were invited by the text to rejoice in creation. So this is a goal in itself, an aim in itself. It has a value in itself. And the second thing, the motivation is Christian, like Jewish Christian, to keep the seventh day, the Sabbath. And we have all seen it can be difficult to really keep the Sunday a free day or a day of leisure. And but if you take this step, this little work, or maybe hard work, and you keep the day of, well, a free day or creative day, whatever, you can receive all the joys and the gifts of the day. So it's a gift of God, but you need maybe to work first to arrive at that point to accept it as a gift. But then this gift can be something like, also in the Christian perspective, being freed and redeemed and set free to to enjoy in a different way, to also to get fresh energy, or even to put energy in helping others, in even doing actions maybe for ecology or for neighborhood and for visiting people of your parish. But so you can feel this moment of being freed, being redeemed in some way, by rejoicing in some way this, well, free day or special day, let's say special day. But it's sometimes difficult to arrive at that point to really accept that gift. That was one idea.
Thank you. Group number 2. I was there also, but I would like to hear what the others say. Which document you discussed? Which day of the week?
Frederik, I think you should speak.
Okay. We have also discussed the text about Sunday, because we have not have this knowledge of Maximilian's group that we maybe could have done the second one. For our group, it was important that we also discuss first that doing nothing, is it something what we can do on Sunday? Is it necessary to do nothing, or to do something else? So, I think one of the ideas was to do something differently, and I think this is a good point for us to remember that the care of environment is something to do something different. And then we discussed also the actual problem in Lützerath in Germany a little bit, that this group have started also to do something different, because they have renewed a village. They have built their infrastructure, and now it is the police has I don't know the English word, räumen. They have to leave now again. This is what we also discussed, because I think a lot of people who are caring about environment were thinking now the last weeks, should I also go there and should I not go there? And this is what we also discussed. And one of the important points was also that we are ambassadors of hope as Christian, and that we should speak about hope. And I think this text of also to meditate about what we can hear, what we can see, is also to create new hope. So this is what I would say from our group. And if you have something to add, Miriam, you're free to do it.
No, I think it's wonderful. Thank you, Frederik.
Wonderful. You can change things by doing nothing, or not pressure too much. What I don't was hearing if you said about family time. It's very important for a lot of people to have a family time at weekend and at Sunday. With other families maybe also. Thank you. Group number 3, please.
We talked about many small aspects to the third text, because we were group 3, but also because that was the text all of us were interested in. It was a good match. So we talked first about what it means to care for plants. There was the example of caring for trees in the city or in the neighborhood you live in. And we talked about whether it's necessary to have what we call in German a green thumb. I don't know if that works in English. So if one thinks they have a talent to caring for plants or not. And we said maybe it can also be an act of caring to first actually notice that there are trees around you or plants, and then it can also be a sign of caring for them when you feel you want to hug them or speak to them. You don't need to be the very expert, and you can also start by learning their names and gaining some theoretical knowledge. Maybe you will lose your anxiety of going into practice at some point. So the next aspect we talked about was that nature, especially when one is living in the village or in the countryside somewhere, it's something that people work on and with and earn their money and their living from. And it can also be seen as something which can be dangerous from time to time, and people need to protect themselves from the environment. So there's always this, there has to be a balance between caring for nature and feeling safe at the same time. So this can be an issue depending on where someone lives and depending on the way someone has been raised. And we also talked about the fact that nearly every space is in some way cultivated and changed through human behavior, past and present. And so to just let things grow and leave them to their own way might not always be the right strategy. So there was the example of, I don't know what Brombeere is in English. There's there are some species that start occupying new spaces, and then they grow and grow and grow and overtake spaces and different species. And maybe it's important to interrupt this process, for example. And so there needs to be a balance also of letting nature do its thing, and to stop some processes, or try at least, and to help maybe with other processes happening. So these were like the different balances we were talking about.
Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you. And the last group number 4. Someone?
Yes, I can speak. Yes, I can.
Yeah, we can understand you, but with breaks.
Okay. Can you hear me? Not probably.
We can hear you. Oh, we can hear you, but it's uninterrupted. Okay, it's not working. Someone else from the group number 4? If not, we will start the second part with Elfriede Dörr, because the time is running. Okay, Elfriede?
I was not sure if my internet is weak or the internet connection of the speaker. So can you hear me? Okay.
He was sitting in a train.
Ah, okay. I had also difficulties to understand Hannah. And I was not sure if it's my connection or her. Okay. Thank you for this round. And we proceed with part 2. And as I promised at the beginning, I'm going to offer you an overview on where Protestant churches are in their ecumenical international organizations or in their international communion work when it comes to care for creation. I will introduce you to international organizations such as World Council of Churches, WCC, and the Conference of European Churches, CEC, as a regional counterpart of the WCC, the Lutheran World Federation, LWF. I'll say some words about a Women's World Day of Prayer if there is still time to do that, which is rather a grassroots movement and an ecumenical organization. I have a look also at the Communion of Protestant Churches in Europe, CPCE, since this conference is co-organized by the CPCE, if I understood rightly. Okay. Nothing. And then in the following breakout rooms, you will have the chance to have a look on 2 ecumenical papers. I'm going to ask you to focus on the part where the paper makes concrete proposals for the churches to take action. And we'll see at the end if we manage to bring together grassroots and international church-based engagement. Let me start with the Lutheran World Federation. Founded in 1947 in Lund, Sweden, it now has 149 member churches in 99 countries worldwide, to which some 77 million Christians belong. The last assembly took place in Namibia, 2017, where I had the privilege to meet Benedict. The next is planned in 2023 in Poland. My church, the Evangelical Church of Augsburg Confession in Romania, is a member since 1964. The LWF made its first environmental statement in its Dar es Salaam assembly in 1977, continued by ecotheological statements at assemblies in Budapest in 1984 and in Curitiba 1991, which marked a decisive turning point in the discourse from a focus on the status and care of creation to the ethics of environmental justice and eventually climate justice. The LWF continues to shape its ecotheological discourse in recent council statements and assembly resolutions on climate change and the commodification of creation. Around the LWF communion, various streams of ecotheological inquiry were opened up by individual theologians and statements from churches. From a range of ecumenical theological perspectives, I'll highlight the Reformation booklet, Creation Not for Sale, which identifies economics and economy as main drivers of the world today. Thus, it is first of all economics and the economy we need to challenge. In one of the main presentations during the assembly, the Lutheran communion has been asked to consider actions in 3 areas. The first, a spiritual one, requires a new way of thinking. Conversion should occur in the hearts, while obsolete economics values greed, which Paul calls an idolatry, our value should be satisfaction and simplicity. The second area calls for concrete change of lifestyle. This would entail each and every area of life, including housing, transportation, food, leisure, and clothing, among others. The third is an appeal for Christians to vote, to advocate, and if possible, to address climate change on a political level. The aim is to meet the needs of all within the means of the planet. In the end, liberated by God's grace, it is the opportunity to be in communion with the God of life. This is some insight into the Lutheran World Federation and the statements and the thinking during the assembly in Namibia. I'm continuing now with World Council of Churches, WCC, which is a fellowship of 352 churches from more than 120 countries, representing over 580 million Christians worldwide. This includes Anglican, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, Reformed, and Orthodox churches, mainly in Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, Latin America, the Middle East, and the Pacific. The founding churches were from Europe and North America. The first assembly took place in 1948, the last, the 11th, in August last year in Karlsruhe. The Evangelical Church of Augsburg Confession in Romania has been a member of the WCC since 1961, so during communist dictatorship. I have been a delegate of the church and participated in the last assembly. And I wanted to ask you if somebody also has been there, participated in the assembly in Karlsruhe. Benedict, Inze? Okay, thank you. I will focus on 2 points or in 2 directions, continuing with the World Council of Churches. On the one hand, I want to present to you how thoughts and decisions in a worldwide ecumenical organization can shape also the regional organization like CEC, and then developing a new network, let's say, like ECEN, World Council of Churches, CEC, ECEN, and with an impact in a congregation like the one in Sibiu. This is on the one hand, and on the other hand, I would like to introduce you to a public statement which has been adopted last summer in Karlsruhe. So, an example of how the decisions of international ecumenical bodies set the tone for ecumenism and inspire congregations when it comes also to care for creation. Ecumenical ecotheological dialogue and action came to fruition during the 1980s in the WCC's Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation conciliar process, which we all know. The Conference of European Churches has taken up these themes, and together with the Catholic Council of European Episcopal Conferences in their common assemblies. The Conference of European Churches, CEC, is the regional ecumenical organization, as I said already, of Orthodox, Anglican, Old Catholic, Protestant, including Lutheran, Reformed, United, Methodist, Baptist, among others, churches in Europe. The Roman Catholic Church is not a member of CEC, but cooperates with CEC through the Council of European Bishops' Conferences. The Conference of European Churches emerged as a peace-building effort in 1959, building bridges between the East and the West during the Cold War. Last assembly took place in Serbia, 2018. Next one shall be 2023 in Estonia. The Evangelical Church of Augsburg Confession in Romania has been a member of CEC since 1974. So the two ecumenical bodies, let's put it like this, they organized the first European Ecumenical Assembly in Basel, 1989. The final document has been of great importance and was seen as an achievement in the ecumenical understanding of the conciliar process for justice, peace, and integrity of creation. The next assembly, the Second European Ecumenical Assembly, took place in Graz, 1997. And this assembly recommended that a network of persons with environmental responsibilities within the churches should be set up at a European level. And the European Christian Environmental Network, the so-called ESEN network, so ESEN, is a response to this call. The aim of ESEN is to share information, experiences in environmental work among widely varied Christian traditions, and to encourage a united witness in caring for God's creation. ESEN works closely with CEC. The secretary is based in the CEC office. Close partners are also WCC and CCEE. The latest news you might be interested in is the publication freshly printed, titled "Every Part of Creation Matters." The book states that caring for God's creation is an integral part of the calling of the churches and explores the question how this can be done. So again, covering the question of our conference also, Protestantism and participation. The publication will be officially introduced in an online launching event on the 18th January 2023. So save the date, 18th January. It takes 1 hour, 1400 to 1500 CET. The speakers are the Right Reverend Nicholas Baines, Bishop of Leeds, member of the governing board of CEC, Kees Niveret, moderator of the CEC thematic group on economic and ecological justice and sustainable future, one of the editors of the book, and Matthias Böning, World Evangelical Alliance, permanent representative to the UN in Bonn, director of the Sustainability Center. I think it's going to be a good launch. So the registration is open. You'll find it on the website, ESIN website. The book is already available in electronic version for download for free. So register, download, help yourself. And keep this address if you want to get information in your involvement for care of creation. The third European Ecumenical Assembly in 2007 in Sibiu is following the same spirit, recommended that a consultative process addressing European responsibility for ecological justice, facing the threat of climate change, and European responsibility for the just shaping of globalization. At the same time, the Assembly recommended that a period from the 1st September to the 4th of October be dedicated to prayer for the protection of creation and the promotion of sustainable lifestyles that reverse our contribution to climate change. And may I ask you if you have participated in such a season of creation? Yes, no? Frederick said yes. Season of creation. It's so charming, but people don't know this this initiative for including a season of creation in the church life. So that would be also a place to dig for you if you want. And now coming to the impact on the local level of all these thoughts. The third European Ecumenical in Sibiu was the first gathering of this kind to be organized to the principle, according to the principle of eco-management. This included using the compensations payments for flights to plant a forest near Sibiu. So this was the example of how the decisions of ecumenical bodies set the tone for environmental care actions and inspire congregations. Again, WCC. Let me switch to this ecumenical gathering, the WCC 11th Assembly in Karlsruhe, Germany. The delegates have adopted last year a document called The Living Planet, Seeking a Just and Sustainable Global Community. The genre of this document is the so-called public statement, which means that the WCC takes a stand on cutting-edge issues. The paper is prepared by experts, discussed in the governing bodies, possibly modified and then adopted. This is the voice of the WCC on certain burning issues which may or may not be covered by the media and which goes mainly to the church media. It also serves as an impetus or orientation for member churches and their congregations. And now my question to you, have you heard of this document? No. Yes, unfortunately, that is the fate of such documents. I myself like to read such documents. It's part of my job also, to be frank. I like to read such documents, and I want to encourage you to do to also read such documents, because I can assess a little bit where I stand, where our church stands, and I like it even more when I find topics that I have not heard before, when they take me on new tracks and I can learn something. I give you an example, very simple example. The statement reads, "Together we as churches commit to empower and embrace young people seeking to take action against climate change and environmental degradation in order to protect their futures, which the current generation has so terribly imperiled." Well, it is the young people who got me going. They were the ones who courageously took the streets worldwide. In Sibiu, there were only a few. I know that because my daughter was active. I accompanied her. I now know how little people in Romania, and perhaps in Eastern Europe, know the facts about the climate crisis. Educational programs are almost non-existent, largely absent from schools. I have seen how young people are ridiculed and how seriously it makes a difference when adults support them. When the young people in Sibiu were fined because instead of staying in one place, they made a round in the main square with their protest, which is ridiculous but legal. Greenpeace got involved, paid a lawyer, and took the initiative to change the law on assemblies in Romania. Back to the document. I checked the footnote to this paragraph, which is, how it is. But a footnote, there was a link that led me to a small brochure of about 30 pages on the WCC website called Climate Justice with and for Children and Youth in Churches. Get informed, get inspired, take action. I have scrolled it through and I found a compilation of good ideas here, and also a number of other websites and materials online. I was surprised at first, then happy, because it puts my commitment in a global context. It inspires me. I learn new things. What am I trying to say? If you as leaders, as adults, want to support young people and you don't know how to do it, then just start. Things will fall into place. And I promise you, you yourself will be empowered. Dear moderator, I have prepared also about CPCE, but there is, I think, not much to say. Please correct me in the plenary on what a prayer, but with a look on, if I'm looking at the time on my screen,
Thank you very much for this second part. I sent already this document to all.
2 documents.
I sent it in the chat, The Living Planet. I sent it, and if you want, I will send the other, or...
So let us discuss it in the group and decide together. Okay. I prepared 2 papers. The one is the public statement adopted by the assembly in Karlsruhe last year. And the second one was the Wuppertal call. And Gerhard thinks it is okay if all the groups discuss the Living Planet. So the document adopted during the assembly after WCC. Is that okay for you?
If my opinion is so important, I would say I would say it's okay with one document because the time is very short to discuss two documents. And I would like to say we will focus on the believings of the decision.
No, let me tell on what I proposed.
Please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea to focus on the living planet. Please download the text and focus on pages 3 to 4 and the points following. Together we as churches commit. Focus only on those points. I think that is enough.
Okay.
And the questions would be the same as in for the first breakout room. Where do you see a possible area of it? First you discuss about the paper if you want. Then where do you see a possible area of interest for you? And what do you think you could contribute to engage your community, congregation in participating in the care for creation?
Okay, thank you very much. We have, I think, not 20, but 16 minutes to discuss. Sorry, but it's a short time now. Please, Technic group, Marcel, to send us in groups. Thank you very much. Welcome back, dear friends. We have just very few minutes left, but I would like to give you space, a room to say conclusions from your groups. Please, it doesn't have to, but I would like to let you speak about experiences of your discussions group. The group 1, there were just 3 groups. Group 1.
Yes, I'm
please.
from group 1. If the others don't mind, I can tell a bit. We liked to read the list. It had a concrete style, like there were concrete points, and we even saw that they were stressing specific points from specific regions of the world, even though also we thought about, it's just a lot. It's just a lot of points added together. So we were a bit between, okay, it's a long list, and it's nice that it's concrete. Also, we talked about the sense and the nonsense of documents like this. How can we be truthful to what we decide there and what we want to stand up for there in texts like that? But we saw that it can help changing personal behavior, than being a role model in this and an advocate for the environment in the world. Even though it's difficult, that we read all these idealistic things, and in our concrete church, we see that even we don't fulfill what we read in the document. Yes.
Thank you. From the second group, someone wants to say some words?
Okay, I will say some words. Thank you, but first of all, thank you, Inte, Marie. You have pronounced a lot of good points now. So for our group, it was also a small discussion about how to implement this kind of things. You can do it in a democratic way, so it will take long time, or you can do it with authority, authoritarian. So how we handle this? Because if you read like the point with the fossil industry, we should all be now. If we are in Germany, we should all be in Lützerath and help the people there that this should not be there. Cancelled, this village. But so this is one of the points, and I think the second point is our areas where we that we should help young people to have good thoughts, not bad thoughts about their future. I think this is one of the most important points, that it should not be like, oh, I will not do my studies because in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years our living grounds are burned. So this is important also, that we again speaking about hope. Genau. Okay.
Thank you. And the third and last group?
We talked about the difficulties for implementing all of these things into our church, also with financial thoughts, and then like being more environmental friendly. Also in the local area where money sometimes is tight, or people think it is tight. And we also have to think about which leaders we want to implement in our church, people who think like financially, or people who think environmentally friendly, and also who have a mindset to invest in, how you say it, in sustainable development, which takes a long time, it's not so fast. And we talked about the paper is quite interesting because it's steering a lot of different dimensions, like a prophetic view to talk with the leaders also of nations, and also to not forget the people and the individuals in the country, like the indigenous people. We have to have in mind and not rule over them with our European Western thoughts and just say, we think this is true, and now we have to act accordingly. Because that is also like European centralized colonizing thoughts. So there's a lot of different topics we have to steer through, and it's quite difficult.
Thank you. But we will remain not hopeless, but hopeful for this time. And I want to thank you as a moderator of this lecture. I want to thank you, Elfriede Dörr, for the very interesting evening, for the lecture. I want to thank you all participants for the discussion, for the impulse, for the questions and answers. And I will put in the chat for you, because it's faster, informations about the lectures you will find on this link. Next lecture I invite in 2 weeks from Diakonia to Philadelphia with Anne-Sophie Wislotsky. And I not because I am in Sibiu now, but it is our duty of the organization of the institutes that organize this Young Theology forum to invite you to Sibiu in April this year. And you have the link with some information about the conference and about the city. We would like to remind you that the application has to be until end of February. Maybe, Oliver, you can say if it is until end of February or until 25 of February, maybe. We have just 20 persons planned, 2022, and please make your announcement on this link. And you can write to Hessen at Evangelischer Bund. Moment. I cannot write it now, but moment.
Applications for the conference we
Yes.
ask until 20th of February.
Until 20. Okay. Okay. Just a moment. Just a moment. Now I have it. Please on this address. I think it's okay. Volkmar, it's a good email.
It's all correct. Thank you.
All correct. Thank you. Until 20th of February. Giovanni, you want to ask something? But you have to.
Yes.
Turn your
Yes,
microphone.
sorry, I was mute. And I am in a really particular situation here because I am the only pastor in a big area, and I'm not sure if I can come away from here from some time. And at the moment, my plan don't depend about me because I am in training. I am doing a vicariate period. So I must ask to my boss if I can do or I can't do. And so it could be possible that I will not have the answer from my boss in time. That could be a problem, or if it's possible that I can try to subscribe my presence to the conference, and if I can't, I unscribe. Or it's better for you if I wait to subscribe?
Maybe Oliver has an answer.
I just control the date you wrote to the chat, Gerhard. It seems not correct to me. I thought it is the 12th to 15th of April. Could you please?
Please.
And to the second question, I think that's rather a question to the main organizers from Evangelischer Bund Hessen. If we can do, I would say it is better to make your application and rather withdraw shortly. But maybe you have something to say to that, Volkmar.
Yes, I think you're right, Oliver. It's better to apply now, and if it's necessary to cancel the application, then we will regret, Giovanni, if you won't be able to join us in CBU, but so that we will have the pleasure to see you there, you should apply now. And maybe we could support you, get some free time from your boss. Give us an address and we'll write to him and
a paper.
Say we
all
need
the three
Giovanni
institutions.
you.
From all the three institutions. Okay, I would like
For
to.
Sure.
I'd like to let Elfriede Dörr for the last word. Elfriede, please.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you for inviting me to present to you some ideas from different levels of church life. And I feel very honored to be part of this group of people who want to shape the future and to help or be helped by you also in my commitment. Thank you very much. And I wish you God's blessing and hope to see you in Sibiu.
See you in 2 weeks and have a nice evening and good ideas for the next time. Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.